T-shirt all the time. How's everybody doing? Happy Tuesday. Catching up with Married to Medicine. Like I said yesterday, it's gonna be a late upload or whatever, but let's get into it. So this is season 7. What is this? Episode, I want to say 4? Episode 4? 5? One of them. I'll know which one it is when I put it down. Matter of fact, let me go back and look. I think it's episode 5, if I'm not mistaken. Episode 4, yeah, episode 5, right? Yeah. So and continues where it left off last week with Toya's party, and she, had the sip and paint with the naked men's models, and ooh, that was some good eye candy. Oh, their booties. That's what I wanted to do. I'm a pervert, and they were some good looking dudes, and they was like in their early 20s, and they had schlongadongs, even though it was blurred out. You could tell they had schlongadongs. And I was like, ooh, yes. Mufasa, it tingles me. So, the ladies are oiling the men up or whatever, and I was just dying laughing at all of their reactions, like Contessa, Mariah, Heavenly. All of them had different reactions or whatever. Contessa was like really in awe, like, this is the greatest night of my life. And Mariah is like, girl, this is my first and last time looking at black penis, because her husband is Bangladeshi, so but I was just laughing at everybody's reaction to, like, oh, excuse me, Jesus, the male models or whatever. So they're painting, and each person has a different picture. Some of the ladies had a picture of, they were painting a picture of the guys' schlongadongs. Jesus, sorry, hiccups. Yeah, they were painting pictures of the schlongadongs, and other ones was like painting, I think, their butts and their chests and all that. There's just the whole thing had me rolling. So one of the models went and was walking around or whatever, and then he actually put his butt on the table, I think for Simone or somebody to paint. And I'm like, yo, you could tell he does this often, because bruh. So Simone is just like, Toya, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for inviting. And I'm like, yo, all of y'all are stupid. Like, just their attitudes and their reactions to the whole sip and paint, hilarious. And they really do sip and paints like that, where it's like, there's a male model or a female model even, and they get naked and you have to paint them or whatever. But usually they'll make the model sit still. It depends. But I've seen and heard of parties where they have the model, he walks around or whatever, and it's like a stripper type sip and paint, naked sip and paint, adult sip and paint, if you will. So Heavenly, her painting was his chest with the cross on it, because she was like, I ain't telling daddy about this. He ain't gonna like this. So he did something. Well, Contessa was complimenting him, and I think Heavenly said something to him or whatever. She called him a little boy or whatever. He was like, little boy, little, and he picked her up. He picked Heavenly up, and she was like, Toya, somebody come get this baby. And she like, hell no, he picking me up. Daddy won't like this. I ain't telling daddy. So Mariah took pictures and was like, this is my receipt. And I'm like, because Mariah and Heavenly, since Heavenly joined the show, they've been rah, 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 rah. But that was a fun joking like moment or whatever. So Heavenly is just like, I'm thankful for the penis I got at home or whatever. So then they get to Buffy, Heavenly, and Toya discussing the whole thing that happened at Buffy's house with Jocelyn coming at Toya sideways or whatever. So Toya kind of feels like Buffy didn't defend her. And Buffy was like, I did defend you. When she said what she said, I went back out there and I spoke to her and I let her know, be nice. And Toya was like, but it didn't come off that way when I spoke to you about it. You was just like, oh, I'll take you to the spa. And it's deeper than that. If that's your friend, tell your friend to calm down and don't come at me sideways. I didn't do anything to her. So Toya was like, you literally sat there when somebody was calling my husband a bitch, and she's like, I didn't call your husband a bitch, and if you was paying attention, you would see that I defended you. I didn't have anything to do with that situation, but in that moment, I defended you. So Buffy pretty much left, and she feels like she defended Toya, despite what Toya is saying. So moving on, Mariah brings out the cake. They sing happy birthday, and Toya makes a wish, and she just wants peace of mind and more blessings. What, you put it out in the universe, it'll come back threefold. So now we get back to Toya and Eugene, and they're in his office, and she's bringing snacks or whatever. So friggin' hate yawning. I say this all the time. I mean, I think y'all know by now. I don't be meaning to yawn. It's irritating. And the funny thing is, I don't even yawn this much when I'm not on camera. When I'm reading, or I'm just like, I always yawn. Even with my kids, I be reading them for their reading logs for their homework. I be reading them a book, and I yawn like crazy. It's irritating. So, Toya walks into his office and like, you need some pictures of your wife and your family in the office. And he's like, girl, we still getting the whole office together, whatever. So he, remember Eugene became full director. I think he's founder of the ER group or whatever. And they discussed the sipping paint. And Eugene felt like there should have been some damage control. Like a lot of stuff that happened at that sipping paint. Like from what it sounded like and what it looked like, it was like not a ruckus, but it was just a lot. And she's like, well, what do you mean I needed damage control? He was like, the male models were all over the place or whatever. They were supposed to be sitting still while you painted them. So she's like, it was a party or whatever. We were having fun. She was like, you already knew that this was happening. He was like, but you didn't tell me it was going to be this extreme. I'm not mad about it or anything, but I just thought it was something that it clearly was not. So then they go from that topic to the move, and they have to move out of their house soon because their lease is up, I think, the day after they move or whatever. So they have to move that day before, and they're trying to figure out where to stay or whatever. She said she didn't want to like rent another house. She didn't want to like stay in a hotel because it becomes pricey. And Eugene is like, well, we have no other choice but to stay in the house even though it's unfinished. And she's like, yeah, but then we're going to be staying there with paint and dust and all of that. And he's like, well, we're going to have to be on one side of the house while the other side is getting fixed, but that's the only option we have. So they come to an agreement that that's what they're going to do. They're going to move into the house even though it's unfinished. So we get to Simone and Jackie, and they're discussing the party. And Simone is like, well, did you tell Curtis about the party? And Jackie was like, I told him bits and pieces. Like, I told him about the male models. I didn't tell him about them being naked or something like that. Like, she just pretty much like told him but didn't tell him. Like, withheld the ratchet. So Jackie is currently writing a book called Queen Bee, and it's a sex book. It's a sex book. It's a sex health book, and she's doing her research. She's doing her research about sex toys and like the body and whatnot. And well, Jackie already knows about it because she's a GYN, so she knows about like women and their parts. So she just wants to talk about sex toys, health, sex ed, like sex education, and she just wants people to feel comfortable enough to explore their bodies, know what they like, and talk about sex, because that becomes it. Even though there is so many people in the world doing the horizontal mumbo jumbo, it's like frowned upon to talk about sex. Like, I don't know why people feel it's so taboo or unnecessary to talk about sex when it's a natural thing that happens. However, I mean, if you're walking around just randomly discussing what you do in the bedroom or whatever, just for no reason at all, then I could get that. But because some things you keep to yourself, or you keep, you talk about it on a platform where it's for you to talk about, i.e. that's what we do sometimes on the Fishbowl Fridays. Like, I don't just randomly bring up sexual topics during the week. I leave that for a moment where I know it'll be talked about. It's a random topic, so let's talk about it. So, but people just, it's so frowned upon to talk about sex, and it's like everybody, well, not everybody, but the majority of people of the world are having sex. It's a thing. It's something natural. It's something we all do. It's something that's, it's a necessity in life or whatever, even though people try to make it seem like it's not. But sex is sex is a need. It's a want and it's a need. And I like the fact that Jackie is doing the whole sex ed book or whatever, and she's doing it from a medical standpoint where it's not just about sex, it's not just about toys, it's not just about exploration, it's about healthcare as well, which is really good, because some books that are like sexual books, they just focus on like positions, they focus on different ways to get yourself to orgasm, and stuff like that, tricks and tips or whatever. But I don't think I've heard too many books where they're talking about actual health, because you have to, in order to enjoy your sex life, it would be like, the plus would be for you to be healthy, have a healthy sex life, have a safe sex life. So I like where she's going with that. I don't know if there's anybody that's ever done anything like that where they've combined, healthcare and sex together. There probably has been, but it's a dope lane to, like, navigate in. So we get to Simone and Cecil, and they're cleaning up their South house because they have they turned the South house into an Airbnb. So they got the boys making up the bed, they're cleaning up, making it nice and tidy or whatever. So they said that that's a way for them to make extra money. And it went from that to sex education with her and the boys. So she's showing them pictures of STDs such as herpes, syphilis, and gonorrhea, and all this other stuff. And she's educating them. It's awkward, but she's educating them, and she's letting them know, listen, if you haven't had sex already, or if you have had sex already, just stay safe. Like, because you don't know what people have, what people are, who they're sleeping with, what they're doing in their downtime. You don't know none of this. So be safe, wrap it up, and also think smart. And if there is no consent, don't do it, because that's how, like, rape is involved. Now, if you're with a girl and y'all are in the mood or whatever, and then she just all of a sudden decides to just say, stop, no, I no longer want to do it, that's no consent. Once you say no, no consent. Because then if you keep going, it becomes rape. So I thought that was really dope that she told her sons that, because a lot of men walking around here older than her sons don't believe in that. And that's why we have stuff like the slut walk and the Me Too movement and all of that other stuff, because there are men out here that think that, women are pieces of meat and we're just supposed to, just go along with whatever they say and do. And I think it's really dope that she's teaching them at the age that they are. She's teaching them no consent equals no sex. Leave it alone. If she says no, it's no. I thought that was dope. So now we get to Quad, and she's on the phone with her lawyer Jeff, and Heavenly comes by. So while she's on the phone, the lawyer is telling her that they have a June 7th deadline for divorce, but the last thing that they have to do is they have to file their taxes together. So he's telling her, well, you got to stay on top of Greg about his taxes or whatever. And she's like, why is that my responsibility to stay on top of him with his taxes? Like, he should know what he has to do. While she's on the phone with him, Heavenly is just like, you got any crackers? I'm hungry. And I'm like, Heavenly, you are terrible. You can clearly see this girl is on an important phone call. You don't care. You just want some damn crackers. First of all, Heavenly came in rude, okay? But her and Quad are like besties, so it's whatever. So, Quad just wants the whole divorce thing to be good or whatever. And, Heavenly was just asking her, well, how's the divorce doing? How's everything? And she's like, we are trying to move to a point where it's like, we're both at a happy medium. I can't really disclose all details, but, it is what it is. It's just, it's ongoing. So now we get to the guys, and they're having a guys' night at this place called Pen and Proper, where you have to play for what it looked like. It looked like football and bowling put together. I've never heard of that. It looks weird as hell, but so Dr. David, who's Buffy's husband, he's there, and he's a psychiatrist as well. They were all playing the game, and none of them hit the. I don't understand how none of them hit the pins, but I'm not going to sit up here and talk because I probably would have missed too. But so they all sit down and they eat, and they got like a nice spread. They got wings and like little like quesadillas or little fajita, like little finger foods they have, and it looks dope. So they're catching up about the party, and Dr. Davis said he felt really bad about the whole Jocelyn situation, and he said that they would never want anybody to feel any way in their home. He understood Buffy feeling like in the middle, and Buffy felt bad about it or whatever. And then they speak to Scott to catch up with Scott, and Scott is just like, I'm holding down the fort or whatever as best as I can. And we didn't know that this was gonna, that her going to school in another state was gonna affect us this much, but we just doing the best that we can. So Aiden talks about Toya's party, and he's like, he felt a little way about the party because Mariah sent him or showed him pictures or whatever about the party, and Eugene was like, he didn't really know the extent of what the party was. Like, he didn't know that it was gonna be naked men. He didn't know half, like, a lot of the stuff that was going on at the party. So they sitting there talking, and Damon is clueless. He's like, I don't even know what y'all talking about. And Eugene is like, Heavenly didn't say anything to you about the party that they had? And he like, no. So I'm like, Heavenly says she wasn't telling him. So they tell Damon about Heavenly being picked up. Aiden shows the picture, and he's like, well, I don't know why she wouldn't tell me this, but I guess she didn't want me to know what was going on or whatever. So, wait. So they're saying that they're going to have their own sipping paint, and they're going to invite female strippers and all of this other stuff too. And I'm sitting up here like, so y'all just pretty much doing this to, like, out of spite because y'all feel a way about the girls having a sipping paint. They didn't care nothing about the models. It was eye candy. It was fun. Y'all are so bothered. Let the ladies enjoy themselves, okay? Let them enjoy themselves. So now we get to Toya and Eugene, and they're moving, and they're literally moving their stuff like that day. And Toya is overwhelmed. They're going back and forth. Toya says she felt like she's been moving for 24 hours and how they usually pay people to do these things. And I'm like, Toya, save your money where it matters. Move your stuff. This is what y'all wanted. Y'all wanted y'all forever home. You already knew it was going to be tiring moving all the stuff that y'all have or whatever. Suck it up, pack it up, and ship it out. Like, that's pretty much what it is. So Toya is just like, she wants to be unpacked and settled already, and she wants to be done by the time the kids get there, and she wants them to come in and just see like the house is somewhat settled, and she just wants them to be in a stable environment. What I thought was dope was when her kids did come home, they came home excited no matter what. Like, when they came home, they were like, oh, look at the backyard, look at this, look at the pool. And then they jumped in the pool in their uniform. And I'm like, see, Toya, you sitting up here worrying so much. These kids are happy. I'm like, they got in the house. They did not care about the house being unfinished. They didn't care about nothing else. They saw a pool and they were like, this is our pool, this is our home. That right there would have made me happy. That would have made the whole move worth it to me. So I'm like, Toya, you worrying too much. You letting that anxiety and that overwhelmingness, you letting it drive you nuts. And them boys, they came in the house in their uniforms, jumped right in the pool. It was adorable to me. So, now we get to Heavenly and Jackie, and Heavenly, and they're like, there's no more naked men. They don't want to see no more naked men. And Heavenly says that she didn't tell Damon or whatever, but Jackie is warning her, well, for a fact that somebody is gonna tell, the husband is gonna tell, somebody gonna tell him, he's gonna find out or whatever. So they're at the sex toy store for research, and it's called Liberator. And Jackie's pretty much saying that she's doing research because she wants her book to be the Bible of sex and healthcare, which I think is dope. So they're trying out this toy where I think it's like a clitoral stimulator or whatever. So it's like a sucker. So the lady gave it to them to try, and she was like, try it on your nose, because the nose is the clit of the face. And I'm sitting here like, what her saying that remind me of? If you ever saw the House Bunny when Anna Faris was like, the eyes are the nipples of the face. That's what that reminded me of. And I was like, Lord. So then I'm sitting there and I'm watching it, and Heavenly having too much fun with the toy. She's sitting there like, oh. I'm like, bruh, Heavenly. But you was the same one that was being real, penis. Oh my God, penis everywhere at Toya's party. But you over here enjoying yourself with these sex toys. Okay. So Heavenly is buying like sex. So she's like, can I get an order of that, and that? Thank you so much. You are so kind. So she got like 3 toys or something. And Heavenly is like, listen, you gotta spice it up in your relationship, and me, I'm pretty much down to try anything. And I'm like, you sure about that, Heavenly? Because you be acting like you don't want to do, like, same old, but okay. So Jackie brings up this idea, because of Toya's party. She brings up this idea for the girls to go to Savannah just to heal or whatever, and to hang out or whatever. Because it's a lot of places that they could visit or whatever in Savannah, Georgia. So I think that they're gonna take I think that they're taking a party bus, because I didn't know that Savannah, Georgia was so far from Atlanta, Georgia. They said it's about, what, 6-7 hours away? And I literally thought that Savannah, Georgia was like right there, like maybe a 1-2 hour drive or something like that. They said 6-7 hours. But Savannah, Georgia looks more like the like modern suburban area, like old country area of Georgia. So they want to take a trip to Savannah, like a little girl's trip to Savannah, just to heal. So now we get to Dr. Contessa, and I will say that this scene kind of disturbed me a bit, because Contessa this season has she's irritated me. And the reason being is because it seems like to me her wanting to go to school was on a whim. Like, she didn't really necessarily sit down with Scott and discuss what she wanted to do. It kind of seemed like she took the idea of, well, I'm going to school in Nashville, and you stay here with the kids and deal with it, and I'm just going to go to Nashville and go to school. It doesn't seem like their communication was good before, during, and after her going to school. So she's putting the kids to bed, and they're catching up. They're discussing the tension. She's like, I see that I feel like you're a little bit annoyed with me. And he's like, I'm not annoyed, I'm just overwhelmed. Like this whole you wanting to go to school, I support it, but it's a lot on me, because I feel like I'm a single dad a couple of nights out the week or whatever. So he's like, I support your dream 100%. I want you to be the very best at what it is you do, but there's no structure. There was no communication. There's no structure. We're not a team. So she's like, well, I see that me going to school is affecting the kids, so I withdrew. I withdrew from school. You win. And, pretty much my dream was deferred. And I'm like, don't do that, Contessa. Don't sit up here and take I don't want to say her failure, because it's not a failure, but it's the fact that you did not communicate. You did not communicate to your husband. You did not tell him that, y'all weren't a team. That's what it was. Y'all were not a team. You did not communicate with your husband. This is why everything fell apart. And like I said, even in the, I think first or second episode, when she was coming home, you could tell right there that she don't communicate with Scott like that. Like, not like she's supposed to, because how you gonna call your father when you get off a flight, but you're going home to your husband and your kids? If I have a whole family at home, the first person I'm gonna call is my husband and be like, listen, babe, I'm on my way home, blah, blah, blah. She could have called her father right after she got off the phone with Scott. So it's like, it's ridiculous. And it's like, she's like, you know, you always get your way. I just wanted to get my way just this one time. And then it pretty much ended there. And I'm just like, Contessa, you keep it up. You ain't going to be married to medicine no more. You going to be divorced and miserable. Because Scott seems like he's a good guy. Just from what I see or whatever, he seems like he's a good guy. He's very patient or whatever. But his patience only goes but for so far. And Contessa is just... I don't like how she's acting this season. I really don't. I really don't. I hope that they don't get divorced. I hope that they don't separate. I don't wish that on nobody on this show. But at the rate she's going, and you know how these Bravo relationships work. People be in relationships and they get divorced and remarried and divorced and remarried and, you know, and so on and so forth. So it pretty much ended there. Y'all let me know how y'all felt about this episode. Episode was kind of funny. Let me know how you felt about it. Leave it in the comments below. Please like, comment, subscribe. And don't forget to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend. Bam. T-shirt on the tube. T-shirt on the tube. T-shirt on the tube. T-shirt on the tube. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Later.